Results of climate change, global warming is increased frequency of rain, strong winds and storm repeatability and rising water level. And main problems was economical and cultural, historical and socially. And for that reasons, there suffer also Nature 2000 sites and also economy of the city. About planning, there was a flood risk management plan for Riga city was developed to minimize the negative effects caused by floods. And local government had not had a flood risk management plan before this project, and which was connected with EU directive about floods. And flood management plan should be taken into account for urban planning and special development plans. About all action, what we had in this project was 7 actions. About 4 first actions I will tell you a bit later. And 5th was publicity, and then was 6th was project management and project monitoring. And about main 4 actions. A bit in details. So the first action was detailed studies about hydrological processes affecting territory of Riga city. We worked together with scientists, and they did for us modeling, flood modeling, and before flood modeling they did 3D models for Riga city. And second activity was experience and best practices in 4 European cities, which are also which has flood risks and are good experience in these problems. Third activity was flood risk management plan for Riga, and which was confirmed as a binding law in Riga municipality. And fourth activity was development of methodological guidelines for territorial planning in flooded zones, and it was my main responsibility for that action. So just a bit about results from modeling. In this picture you could see this terrain model, what Metrum made for us, aero laser scanning with light detection and ranging methods. We could see with different colors, different heights of terrain, and it was very good data for flood modeling. And there was some problems with this data, where was bridges and culverts and narrow dams and concrete fences, which was not so easy to recognize these points. About wind modeling, wind surge modeling, you could see these measures from 1817 until nowadays, and this observation data is in Daugava, next to the river Daugava entrance in Baltic Sea in the Gulf of Riga. And for this modeling, scientists take the IPCC data, which are 4.8 millimeters per year, water level rising, and they observed the trend was 3.6 millimeters, which is very close to IPCC data. And here you could see wind surge in 2005. It was 2 meters, 11 centimeters, and the worst scenarios for our project was with probability 1 to 200 years, which could be 2 meters, 76 centimeters. And here we also could see assessment of impact, and with different colors you could see territories which could be flooded in future if nothing will be done in Riga. It's one territory from Riga city. And for Riga city, the main flood problem is wind surge. For a protection system, we have a system until 2 meters. After 2 meters, we could talk about until 2 meters, 20 centimeters. Vegetation and temporary structures could help to protect floods in some parts. And about 2 meters and 20 centimeters, we don't have protection. Here we have, for Riga city, we decided to have 8 territories with protection, which are very important for Riga city, and scientists did like 2 examples how it could be protected, and I would show you one territory next to the seaside. And here you, with different colors, you could see possible how it could be solved, this problem, flood problem, with sluice here in with the black point in Audope, or another example with dams around the whole water body. And about working process, about our project, we were 10 persons, 8 persons in a project was like permanently, and then we had 2 experts. We had several working groups, project steering committee, and we had supervision from EU. And about collaboration. Collaboration between scientists and decision making is very important. Project team had very good experience about work with scientists from Center of Process Analysis and Research. They were our scientists who did this modulation system. And we also had hydro engineers and also environmental experts, and we had very good command and work. And we had several working groups during the first action, which was the main from which we get the main results, and the best thing that we had the same goal for all of us, and if we had different questions, we decided together, and suggestions we made together in all work groups. And from our project, I would say that we have very good common work and good workshop experience, and we had working group from our department, and I had also for my part working group, and I would say that it was very good experience. We don't have problems with scientists or experts or municipality, and I think also that the reason is that in our steering committee was vice major of Riga, and therefore we really had a very good collaboration. And to conclude, I would say that very important is that all of us have for one project one goal, and it could be very, very good. And if for stakeholders, working groups, and experts, and steering committee, and supervision, that they all could work together and have this goal together. And also if a project has a very good results. And that is information from Brussels, that our project was one of the 21 best life and environmental projects in who was evaluated in 2013. It was nice to see that. Thank you for your attention. Maybe you have some questions?
Yes, the things that Data will not be able to stay with us for the question and answer session later, so if you have any questions to her at the moment, then maybe we can do it now, because she will have to leave very soon. And just a comment from us, I think it's a very good start to our discussion on policy, science and policy interaction, and that was a very good example that if the team is organized correctly, then everything works out very nicely, and everyone speaks the same language. There were no problems with this. Yes?
Thank you, Valdo Lahtva, Stockholm Environment Institute, Talent Center. Flying in a nice day like today, with the sunshine, with the plane to Riga, you usually fly over the Riga and the Daugava mouth. And then I saw both sides of the Daugava a lot of new developments. I guess it's rather wet and low area there. I'm not sure, is it Riga city or is it surrounding municipalities, but there is a lot of new developments and the building is going on. How this plan is actually implemented on the permitting process, permitting of the new developments in the areas which are under flood risk.
Thank you for the question. That part is Vecdaugava, very close to the sea, to the mouth of Daugava River, and you could see what could be if nothing will be done in future. This blue color shows, and also nowadays it's sometimes flooded in springtime, especially. About our project and about implementing in reality, I would say that it's a big and a good question to not to ministry but to policymakers who could decide which project is most important for the city. And until nowadays, I would say nothing is implemented in Riga, but I hope that these ideas would be implemented in territory planning, special planning, and urban planning, and I also hope that in future it will be implemented as real action in these wet territories and flooded territories.
Any other questions? Well, if there are no questions, then we'll have to say thank you to Data for coming here for a very short time to show her presentation. And now we will continue with modeling. And we have a speaker from the same process assessment. Process Analysis and Research Center, which mentioned that in her presentation. And we will have Daiga Cepīte Frišvelde, which will present the common work that is done by PIKE, the center, and also with our Forestry Institute on impacts of climate change on forest industry, which is obviously a very important issue for all three countries.
Dear participants, I am Daiga Cepīte Frišvelde from Center of Processes and Analysis and Research, and I am here actually to tell about approach we use to describe quantitatively the climate change in Latvia. The approach is based on idea that we are able to process outputs of the regional climate models. We develop a method for correcting these outputs errors, and then after processing, these results might be used instead of observations to assess both contemporary and future climate, especially because there are no observations for us for future. We have been involved in multiple research projects regarding this idea. I mentioned them here. And basically information flows in our work can be semantically drawn like that. IPCC climate change scenarios are distributed, and all over the world atmosphere researchers implement them in their global circulation models. After regional climate models look on it on more detail, and they model future situation, and it's coordinated by international project, for example, Ensembles project, which results we used later. These results are available for the society as very huge amount of data for daily values of parameters until 2100 year, and everybody can assess them, but they are not usable unless they are bias corrected. And then our work starts with this orange. We prepare an ensemble of climate projections for Latvia, and afterwards we are also, when we have daily data sets for a large period of time, we can also build an ensemble of climate indicators or give some idea of possible impact of climate change actually on different branches of economy. This time example will be more related to forestry. When I speak about climate changes, then we scientists usually understand 30-year period annual 30-year period average values, and they compare how the 30-year period average values were in the past and how they are going to be in the future. These black lines, each one correspond to results in Riga according to one of the regional climate model runs, and not to go into complexity, we can reduce them by using a median on two other percentiles, but anyway we see that temperature increases slower in near future than in fast future. That is, and of course it increases according to these original climate model runs. The same situation can be done for mean precipitation. Again, it's increasing, only different shape. It's increasing more fast now than later. The increase will stop, or the rise of increase decreases with time. And we see very huge uncertainty after 50, 60, 70 years. It means that these regional climate models do not give the same results about what will be in the future. When we look on the wind speed, then you see that this scale is very detailed and not huge changes can be expected. And again, about uncertainty, we can add that uncertainty is seen. Until now, I showed only 30-year long period average values. In this diagram, I wanted to show monthly values of 30-year long period in the past or nowadays, and in the future. This green line, there are connected average monthly temperatures in the year in the space where one axis is temperature, the second is precipitation. We see that this shape is going to change, and what we can see, we will have shorter winter, earlier spring, longer, hotter summer, nice September, and part of October, and rainy autumn. About that, again, only monthly. In previous slides, it was monthly or yearly mean of 30-year period, and now we can see it for one place in Latvia, Dobele, in moving average from past to nowadays, and then even to very far future. But we can look also on annual variability, which looks even more with larger dispersion. Like we have seen already such years with such a large amount of precipitation already. So this, what is said, is not very something uncommon maybe regarding precipitation. But we see that if we group like these annual points of period 61 to 90, and then later annual years from 81, or in this part from 91 to 2011, then we see a shift to this direction. It's already had been warmer and with more precipitation. But what I wanted to add, that these high temperatures, which these regional climate models say they are going to happen, we have never seen in none of the years until now. The next slide is like an answer to question, like observation, and these regional climate model data are available for all Europe, and we answered the question where nowadays is similar situation regarding temperature and precipitation as we expect in the far future according to these regional climate model runs. And we got answer that it is probably the closest nowadays are southwest of Poland and the border of Germany with Netherlands and Belgium, and these more yellow. Like if you see more yellow color, then it's more close to the future of Latvia. This we done also because like if we are interested about forestry, maybe foresters want to see what their forests, what situations their forests can expect in the future, because forests grow for a very long time and they should take into account what will be after these 100 years. And there I enter about that when we are able to get at least some quantitative information how it will be in different locations in Europe regarding meteorological variables, we are able to calculate climatic indicators from these data arrays, and then if we have climatic indicators, we can also assess the situation for different branches. In forestry branch, we were looking on lengths of vegetation period for several critical temperatures, number of days meeting particular conditions, lengths of periods meeting particular conditions, and frost dates, and some of gross and negative temperature days that are important in forestry and agriculture, drought periods, precipitation and fire risks, and so on. And that had been done for approximately 55 locations in Latvia for nowadays, near and far future, with all these where we calculated indicators for each of regional climate models, like for 20, and we made 3 percentiles with a median being the main to characterize it. Here you see the map, which is drawn from these calculations, a map of length of vegetation period in Latvia. In contemporary situation, you see that there is east-west gradient with shorter period in southeastern part of Latvia. And when we look what is going to change, we see increase of vegetation period in all territory of Latvia, and larger increase around the Gulf of Riga. It means the length of vegetation period increases, its spatial difference increases, and the same actually can and already had been done for many other indicators, and of course methodologically we are ready to implement it also for other indicators, which is important for any like some branches we even maybe don't know, like more or less scientists, not real people working in these branches every day. And if I speak about indicators, then I just wanted to show one more slide, which gives an idea of our actual plans, which are very closely related to indicators. We just try to calculate or to develop methodologies for calculating indicators for agriculture or for some other on archive data, like to give nearest 2-week information about values of indicators. We are at the process in this project now. It started only in January and lasts for 20 months. And these are our actual plans. Thank you for attention, and questions maybe later or no. I am ready to answer, of course.
Thank you very much. I think climate change in Latvia explained quite well. And now we will see how this might impact forestry in particular. And I will invite next speaker.
Hello. My name is Oskars Krišāns, and I'm from Latvian State Forest Research Institute. There's written Aris Jansons. He is my boss. He just sent me here today and gave this presentation yesterday, so I will try my best to speak in place of him. So our research is funded by different projects, included by European and also from the local Latvian State Forest Enterprise, which also has developed state forest breeding program, or so-called strategy, about the issues and the goals that we have to achieve in our research work and different several projects. Sorry. Here we can see very sad and catastrophic future in these projections, as we, as you probably have seen before. In the next century, there are, in this map we see in next century, at least territory of Latvia will expect mean annual temperature increase, for example, 3 degrees Celsius, and also increase in precipitation. But these are the mean values which are projected to increase, but there is such a saying in our work that no killed has been killed by the mean value. Trees usually are killed by the extremes. And that's why we have to focus on the observed climate change before, so we can compare the tree abilities to adapt to different disturbances in future. Because trees has a lot of files from the bagage to choose to apply for different disturbances, and actually we don't know how far they can go. In our work, we face these abilities to survive such a harsh conditions that were not expected before. So the main thing is, as my boss used to say, even the changes are global, adaptation always is local. And here is one example from the eastern Germany, where is located the oldest provenance trail in Europe. Provenance is a region where are located, let's say, do you know what is provenance? Do I have to explain it or not? Okay, so the provenance is a region from where the particular genotype is collected. So we can divide in Latvia eastern provenance and western provenance. So, and different provenances has different abilities to different local conditions. That's in short. And here in this German trail, there are located Scots pine provenances from Latvia, Sweden, Germany, France, and from all the distribution range. And here in these two pictures, we see on the right side there's provenance from Latvia, these straight, very high quality dimensions of the trees, and the other picture, these a bit like, let's say, weaker results. Again, the trees are from France. And this shows that these particular genotypes are adapted to the conditions from their origin area. So we bring these Mediterranean pines to the East Germany, where the conditions are supposed to be much more better than in the Mediterranean region for them to grow, and they still struggle because they don't know how to grow in different in other conditions. Okay, there might be a couple of million years, and they can learn how to do that, and that's the adaptation. So it takes a long time. But basically, what I want to say is that individuals are adapting not that good as the populations, because within the populations we can find such a high variety of different genotypes that we can choose and to apply for different conditions that we expect in future. Here we see, I think we saw such a similar pictures in previous presentation. These are from the same project. here we can see the mean monthly temperatures in January and July. And as previous speaker pointed out, that we can find a west-east gradient, and it's mostly influenced because of the continentality and oceanality differences in Latvia. Latvia is located on the regional border between oceanic and continental regions, where the air mass are dominating from, for example, from Siberia and from North Atlantic. And that's why there's a high variability in continentality in Latvia. Here are some, let's say, some graphs from one progeny trail. I'm sorry, from two progeny trails in Bārta and Kalsnava. Bārta is located in southwest, where it is at the coast of Baltic Sea, and Kalsnava is located in the eastern part of Latvia. And in these progeny trails there are experiments with the Scots pine from eastern Germany and Latvia. German trees are marked with a blue color, and Latvian with a purple one. As we see, Latvian and local trees from these two sites, they have the same results of height increment per one season, comparing with the German ones. And it's also proof of the adaptation to the origin where they come from. This is just an example of how to explain these local adaptations. The main problem that we can face in future is the change of length of vegetation period. A period from the beginning of spring, when the bud flush is observed, and at the mid of the autumn, when the leaves are falling. The problem is that the length of vegetation period is fluctuating year by year, but the bigger problem is that this vegetation period, the trend is going to become bigger. That this vegetation period is going to be longer. Here in these two graphs we see a reference period, in upper one, where are which is developed from the observations of phenology of the trees. We can see that in southwest Latvia there is almost 200 days per year when it's active vegetation period, but in northeast it's around 25 days shorter this period. And future prediction shows that this period can be changed for even 30 or 20 days. It's even more than 2 weeks. And these predictions say that we can expect earlier springs and later autumns. And what are the problems with these? It's a very complex question, because each particular genotype is adapted to some certain past that ancestors of this genotype experienced before, and they taught this small tree how to behave. The thing is that there is such a thing as a chilling requirement. Chilling requirement is amount of freezing hours to the tree, and after the reaching of these certain hours of the freezing, the tree understands, okay, this is the time, the winter is supposed to be over, because winters are not longer than this certain amount of hours, and it's time to grow. But if the tree doesn't get these certain hours of the chilling in winter, in case the winters are becoming warmer, then still in the spring, tree thinks, oh, it's still winter because I haven't freezed so enough. And that's the problem. In this case, as in spring like this, trees can delay the proper moment to start to grow. And they usually grow one certain period. they don't change their usually period of the growth. So the growth period can be extended into the autumn, and they can be damaged by early autumn frost in this case. So they're not ready they're not ready prepared for the winter. The cells are not lignified. The late wood is not formed, and they are very vulnerable to frost hardening is reduced. But there are genotypes who think that it is the best thing to start to grow earlier as the others. I mean, to use the proper time, to use all the available light and temperature and resources in the spring. And what happens with them? They usually are damaged in a late spring frost. So the tree breeding, the objective of tree breeding is to select the right ones, the right genotypes, the right material for to avoid such a problems. Yeah, and it is the only tool in forest we can do basically. These are seed orchards for silver birch and Scots pine, but I will not go in details with that. So here is some results of the tree breeding program. Here in Sweden, there are located different origins of the seed material from seed orchards and natural forest stands, and these materials were brought to Latvia and compared with the local progenies. In the graph, we see that material from seed orchard showed higher height increment capacity than from the natural forest stands. And that's because the seed orchards are made of previously selected planting material, which is even crossed in between. So we can get the best of the best so far. But still, these experiments are going on because the reference period is so long that in life of the human we can expect maybe 2 generations of these results. So it's a very slow process. Before I mentioned that changes of vegetation period, and this is the case of the problems that we have to face now, because in this case, in picture there's a Scots pine with an additional increment. It means that at the end of summer, tree stops to grow, it starts to get ready for the winter, to lignify and to form the latewood. But in this case, temperatures were still available to grow, and this tree was a bit this tree misunderstood the conditions. It thought, oh, there is still okay weather, I can still grow, I can be more competitive with others, and I started to make other height increment, which is supposed to be done in next spring only. And the problem is that this is done usually in August and September. The problem is that in winter these additional shoots are absolutely damaged, and that it means that it's a wasted resources for the next spring, and the buds are struggling, and the next year the increment can't be formed, and let's say in shortly disaster for the tree. And we found a strong correlation with the genotypes. That there are genotypes who are ready for such a condition change, that they can be fine with that to use the last warm days, not to prepare for the winter, but to try to cheat the others by making height increment, but at the end it doesn't work out. There are also predicted, let's say, mean time. Okay. Yeah, there was also something about the new pests that are coming in. It was, as it was mentioned before, and something else about wind damage. And this is the final conclusion of my presentation. That we have to to think about the management basically, and the material that we use to. Okay, thank you. No, the conclusion I expect from the question from the audience, basically. Okay. Because I just said what I had to do, and this is the presentation actually from my boss, which was made by him. But it doesn't mean that I don't work on this field. I'm doing in my job different other things, but these are strongly connected with these main strategies. But I'm not familiar with these ones, I mean, in details. But you can ask questions anyway about that.
Okay, thank you very much.
I mean, now, because I'm leaving after coffee break. Yeah.
Okay, well then, maybe you can comment something on your collaboration with the Latvian state forests, because why? How is it important to them? Like, do you feel that they feel the necessity to invest money in such projects because it will be directly related to their income in the future? So have you, and also maybe you have had some sort of outcomes already that okay, can you already suggest something to such an organization that is planning to gain profit also in the future from forestry? Like, what will be like the practical implementation of such projects?
Basically, this the state forest breeding program is founded and developed by the State Forest Enterprise, and it's only because of the interest to find the best material for the forest. Say re-establishment to make a planting material, and these seed orchards are also run by them. And what we do is we test these seed orchard materials. I mean, we try to find the best of the best, and it's strongly interested by them, this program, and also Latvian economy in general.
I think it's important conclusion and also comment. Thank you very much. And now we will have a presentation also on adapting on molecular level, and yes.
Yeah. And change from there.
Change with this. Just
with this. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Ivika Ostonen, and I'm from University of Tartu, but I'm here on behalf of Center of Excellence in Environmental Adaptation, and I'm going to present you poor science, and just a piece of it, because our center. Okay, let's start from the beginning. The Environ, how we say in Estonian, has been launched for a time period 2011 and 2015, and it's supported from European funds. And the overall objective of our center is to understand the mechanisms of environmental adaptation and this from molecular level to global scales. And of course, we analyze also feedbacks between plant and ecosystem in changing climate. Our head is Professor Ülo Niinemets, who couldn't be here today. That's why I'm here. He's working in Estonian University of Life Sciences. Actually, there is 5 teams from 3 universities involved in Environ. And first group is Plant Physiology and Biosphere-Atmosphere Interactions Group, which is led by Ülo Niinemets himself. Secondly, we have a molecular and gene level and the plant signals group, which is led by Hannes Kollist. Then we have also viruses and microbes and fungus, plant microbe interactions group from Tallinn University of Technology and led by Erkki Truve. Then plant ecology and ecophysiology group working on climate change experiment and led by Anu Sõber. And I belong to landscape ecology and ecotechnology group led by Ülo Mander, who also couldn't be here today. So we are I wanted to point out how much PhD students we have, as this is the future, and they are already trained in sense of thinking about adaptations. And we are quite young also, but we still have experienced senior staff, as you see. Some parameters. But some traditional figures also, I can't without them. You all know this figure, how the carbon dioxide is increasing. And last year in May we reached to 400 ppm. If you recognize from it was also in the media. But we know that the temperature, average temperature, is also increasing. And we have to keep in mind that all different species or ecosystems actually have optimum temperature, where they really grow well and the production is the highest. But they are able also to acclimate or to adapt in longer future, long time scale. So the optimum will shift. But what does it mean? This is the question. Here I've written down our specific aims, and maybe I'm not going to read them, but they repeat what I already said, that we work on molecular level, and we try to scale it up to the tree level, to the plant level, to the stand level, and can I point with that? Okay. To the atmosphere. So we are really really large scale. This is visualized how we work, and different groups working. Here's from change to global scale, and we love this basic figure where is our groups are located to the functional scale of environmental adaptation, from molecule level to biomes, and from seconds to centuries. And here are we, actually, all these different groups, and these I'm not going to detail because I'd like to show you some results also. This is more specific scheme about processes what we study, what we can cover with our research groups, and the feedbacks between them, and are they positive or negative, or we don't know. And this is how our center is built up. Okay, and now I just briefly go through all groups, and plant physiology and biosphere-atmosphere interactions group actually is dealing also on a very large scale from aerosols, but which are really tiny particles, but which can have a major effect on climate. And there is a huge amount of volatile compounds, for example, which are emitted, of course, by system, but also by natural ecosystems, and we usually don't consider them actually, and I think on a political level we even don't consider volatile compounds. I think so. Okay, and if there is going more hot, or there is kind of extreme climate attack, then it's a stress situation, and this might actually induce the compounds, volatile compounds, synthesis and emission from different levels, from leaf, for example, and they are actually in a atmosphere biosphere interaction. They are interactively influencing also the climate, but we are not able to measure them all. Then the group does also experiments in a lab in more controlled conditions, and this is important because they work also with plants used in agriculture, and they simulate an heat attack or drought, and then it's possible to measure what happens and how the plants can they acclimate or adapt to such attacks. Then on a larger scale, actually this is quite new facility. It's Estonian smear station at Järvselja, and this is really 130-meter towel, which is equipped with all kind of machines, and it's able to measure greenhouse gases and do the forests emit, or are they sink or source of carbon, and different kind of aerosols, and this is under construction still, but some of the equipment is already working. And here work also different groups, and they have a close cooperation. This is one example how they measure aerosols in air and air ions, and here is the all together total particles. Just a beautiful picture what can be measured. Coming back to the molecular level, this is a plant signal research group. What expertise what they offer, and they mainly work with model plants as Arabidopsis and Populus, but mechanisms determined on these model systems can be actually expected also from other plants. So this is really important. And then, of course, the viruses, which is very important in, of course, in food security field also. In the future, in changing climate, it might change the viruses also. Then plant ecology and ecophysiology group has a free air humidity manipulation experiment. It's built up already 8 years ago, and there were planted birches and aspens, hybrid aspens, and part of the plots were humidified because it's expected the increase in air humidity. This is very interesting and very big project, which and there can be done very different research. I have here mostly published results from 2009, and there were really a lot of different kind of changes. What happened if the air humidity, relative air humidity, increased 7%? So I'm not going to read them, but this is all. This is very important that the trees actually the growth decreased. The stems growth decreased and height increment decreased at the beginning, but in advance I can say that trees acclimated to the more humid air, and some effects disappeared after 5 years of humidification. So we were able to follow acclimation process. This was a conclusion that just a small rise in relative air humidity can cause really big effects on ecosystem level. Now I come into landscape ecology and ecotechnology group, which is mainly working with carbon and nitrogen cycle and greenhouse gases. And this is just a small piece of our work, because if you want to study carbon cycle, you have to study nitrogen. This is well known. Here is the equipment which is lately developed, and we are almost able. We are able to measure dinitrate oxide and nitrogen, and since until today it was really hard. Why it's important on a climate change level? This is I think you know it's a greenhouse gas with a high global warming potential. So it would be great to get more N2 from the systems. And here was one attempt to measure what process is advanced in studied stands. Then after measurements, so you can model different maker models, which already are interested for policymakers, I think, interesting. Here are some beautiful pictures what has been done also for a bigger area also. Here is the growing potential, warming potential is calculated out also, and this is for it was for methane, and then this is for N2O here. So it's I'm not going to into detail, but here is the process. But we want to know how to measure in what cases the process goes to N2, and in what cases the greenhouse gas will be emitted. And this is actually possible by genes and the soil metagenomics, and part of our Center of Excellence is working with these, and they are, for example, made very thorough analysis of soil metagenomics in Ohio for wetlands, and this is a great scheme what they got actually. Behind every tot is one species, and here are presented actually the networks which are in what cases. This is overflooded area, and they are a bit, other systems. So we can see that the microbial community and their network in a soil is completely different, and that's the reason behind these climate processes, and the acclimation and adaptation starts from here also, of course. Okay, thank you. It was a very brief overview.
Thank you. And now from the very theoretical stuff, I think we will go to more sort of practical or application side of science and policy interaction.
My name is Gintautas, and last name is quite long and hardly pronounceable. So it's enough. Which one? Okay. Today I intend to talk about communication between scientists and policymakers, but also to make some short introduction about confusing terms, talking about climate change, and also about main climate change issues existing in Lithuania. And the most popular terms are climate change, climate variability, and global change. And sometimes people use the same term for different processes or vice versa. The first term is very popular between politicians and administrative workers. And the second one, mostly used by scientists or in research papers. And the last one, very popular between environmentalists. And here is an example. Maybe you ever saw this picture made from different satellites of Aral Sea located in Central Asia. Abrupt decrease of water surface during the last 3 decades. And probably some of you think about climate change, but actually this is outcome of uncontrolled irrigation in Amudarya catchment in Turkestan and Tajikistan, and also very bad water management. And only after that, when water surface or surface of potential evaporation abruptly decreased, we can expect some local climate change, or maybe not. Nobody knows, because last tendencies you see after 2009 is optimistic. And here is an example of westerly wind speed over southern Baltic, approximately 5 kilometers above surface. And you see the rising trend. Seems like climate change. Wind speed, westerly wind speed increases during the last 60 years. It's very evident. However, if we expand our time series back in time and a little forward in time, we'll see some fluctuations. For example, decrease in middle of 20th century, increase in end of 20th century, and also increase at the end of 19th century. And here I try to list all anomalies which can be related to climate change. Some of them are long-lasting or long-term, and have long-lasting consequences. And other, on the left, they are short-term, mainly very common meteorological phenomena. But their frequency, changes in frequency, already says about something happening in climate. Next, I will present some colorful pictures with almost no word, but I will comment them. The most common issue is the sea level rise. Nobody can notice with naked eyes how is sea level rise. Maybe a few 10 millimeters per year. It's a very small amount. But actually, it's very evident during storm surges. And we had such conditions in the beginning of 90s, at the beginning of millennium, and also many times during last 10 years. Also, already was mentioned problem about coastal erosion or coastal retreat. We have 5 times shorter coastlines than Latvian coastal line, and all this coastline is exposed to the westerly gale winds. So very huge investments are required to restore beaches and some embankments which are usually washed after every strong winter storm. As I said, winter storm and sea surges are almost synonymous, but except storm surges, we also have big damages in forestry and in urban areas, like destruction of houses, of roofs, interruptions of communication between land and Curonian spit. Forest fires. Here you see moderate resolution satellite picture made just a few weeks ago from Curonian Lagoon northern part. It was the second largest forest fire, which burnt approximately 100 hectares in just a few hours because of very, very dry and very windy weather. And on the right you see the satellite picture, and on the left picture made from rescue helicopters. It was the second largest fire during the last 7 years. Next, spring floods. Spring floods is very common. Every spring we have flood in lower reaches, in the delta region. However, last 4 winters, not last, but maybe starting from 2009 and up to 2013, we had very harsh winters with very thick river ice, and multiple ice jams made very high water levels and big inundations in lower reaches, and we need rescue team and many investments to save lives and save some property. And also new phenomena is flash floods, which is common in mountainous areas, but also it happened in 2005 and 2007 in upper reaches of few rivers, which never was observed before. So the return period should be 100 years, maybe more. Drought also is not so common, not so common like in Mediterranean or Balkans or Central Europe, but also it happened time to time, usually in warm period, and it make big impact to agriculture, water streams, and also potential for forest fires and shrubs fires. And you see here a satellite picture made from probably Aqua satellite in 2000 and at the end of 2002, and this smoke from peat fires. Increasing air temperature usually forced to bloom the water surface. I don't know exactly which bacteria forces to do such picture. Maybe cyanobacteria, I am not very sure. But it's a very common problem now in Curonian Lagoon and also in Baltic Sea in some inland waters, in hydropower reservoirs. Increasing heat waves and hot weather is a sequence of increasing mean air temperature, but also unexpected cold outbreaks became very common in last 3 or 4 winters, which damaged agricultural yields and also some heating systems, underground heating systems, and people spent a lot of money to avoid such a disaster. And finally, short-range phenomena, which I showed before. It's squall lines with squall winds and also available tornadoes, then hail and flash floods in urban areas, also common problems in our area. And next, few examples about collaboration between researchers and stakeholders. One project took place some years ago and involved targeted areas. One of the area was Klaipėda City Municipality, and was selected the problematic area, small watershed with possible inundations because of the sea level rise during winter storms and also during flash floods. It's a very small catchment, just a few tenths of square kilometers, but this riverbed lies within living houses inside the city and is quite vulnerable to such a changes. All this project was divided to different phases. Few workshops, feasibility study, and technical project. In the first meeting, scientists met local people, local community, and people from municipality, and other people who was interested in it. We had a long discussion what to do. Local people suggest many proposals, Then we started to study this area in the perspective of climate change and estimate future sea level rise and also discharge of this river because of increased winter precipitation in this area. Also, area was divided to two sectors, urban and rural, and two different methods was applied for discharge calculations. Finally, we got three threshold levels of expected mean sea level, expected maximal sea level, and expected maximal sea level during windstorm, sea surge. And all potentially inundated areas were mapped of the plan, on the city plan. You see here in the blue color. And finally was decided what to do next. Also, we had supervisors from European Union. They suggest already good practice from Norway and Denmark, and the local community choose a more expensive choice, made more expensive choice, but more effective from Denmark. Then we made a feasibility study where calculate all expenses and prepare some frames for technical report. Then was made a technical plan, also cost-benefit analysis, and set priorities, which was scientifically called multiple criteria decision analysis. And after preparation of technical plan was decided to implement this technical plan, which includes dikes and embankments, in the first stage of reconstruction of recreational park in southern part of Klaipėda city. And finally was issued book where we presented all problems existed, also climate change projections, and targeted project I told just a few minutes ago. Next project, Baltic Climate, which take place also some years ago. I am not very familiar with it, but it was led on the national level by Ministry of Agriculture. They also had targeted areas, and targeted area in Lithuania was Panevėžys district municipality. And this project was designed for changes in spatial planning due to climate change issues. And here you see some conclusions made after implementation of plan and mapping. There is areas of vulnerability for 3 different time terms in 2040, 70, and 2100. And finally, one big regional program which is in operational phase now, It's proposed by Global Water Partnership. It's called Integrated Water Management in Central and Eastern Europe. Many countries participated, including Lithuania. And main outputs, as you see, should be integrated drought management plans and also help desk for to respond to the drought issues. And also here we gather all experiences existing now in Balkans, in Central Asia and Central Europe and Eastern Europe. And we are going to unify all diagnostic and prediction tools for drought identification, and outcomes, as I said, will be integrated drought management plans. And that is almost the same. Thank you for attention.
Thank you very much. And now again we are at the stage where we have the opportunity to ask questions to our speakers, and also express your opinion, if you have one, regarding what are the current issues in climate, in science policy interaction in your particular country. What is lacking, and what needs to be done to make this cooperation more productive and more efficient, more useful for both sides. So again, what are the main problems and how they can be resolved? If you do have any ready suggestions, of course, and you want to share them with the other participants, you're welcome to do so. So, would anyone like to start with their questions or comments?
Yes, hi. I had a question. Thank you for all the presentations, and I had a question for Ivika Ostonen, who did a presentation about Environ. I was just wondering, it was very interesting to see what you were doing, and I wanted to know if I mean, I understand that you're a center of excellence, you have scientists working, but do you do some kind of sort of outreach activities, meaning that, how to say, because very often it happens so that policymakers speak in more general terms, but then I see that that your center could exactly add some kind of legitimacy and weight to these issues. But is there some kind of a cooperation mechanism, or do you, for example, cooperate with education centers to some extent? For example, in Estonia, there's this AHA center. I don't know. Do you do communication of your work somewhere?
Yeah, we are very open to all kind of to spread our knowledge or to share it. And I think 2 weeks ago we had an open forum with our ministers and policymakers, and then this was very interesting actually because when we are working in our scientific world, we really don't know what are the demands or how far is the policy, and how we could help or what we could share. And we found many gaps what we really could actually develop. But I think the most limiting is human resource actually, who is going to do, because we know what we should do. But I'm personally, I have one experience from a European network where we, within one project involved sea reporters from every country to our scientific network, and we really tried to find out what we can offer to sea reporters, what they need, from example, from below ground sea, how to calculate the carbon stocks in the soil and then the changes there. And then we actually admitted that the science is few steps far, and then the policymakers come behind, and actually we would need somebody to link us if both are doing their job. So I think this kind of event is a very, very nice attempt. And then yeah, but we popularize making popular events also. We had the Plant Fascinating Day, for example, in Town Hall Square. In 1 year, what was very popular for children, and but we can't do too much.
Thank you very much. Any other questions, please? Maybe some specific questions related to research presented here, or okay. But I would like to probably invite those who are here representing the scientific institutions to say. To express their opinion on how they evaluate the current cooperation with the policymakers. Do you see that there is a need for more, or it's all good? Like the examples that you have presented, were there any issues, or was everything running very smoothly, or how was it?
Actually, it's very weak collaboration between politicians and research community, and we need some inspiration probably from different projects, because nobody is interested in climate change issues when these issues do not touch personal property or something like that.
Hello everyone. I come from Lithuania, and I used to work in the Ministry of Environment when we were creating this strategy that Jurga talked about. And to say the truth, at first, like big collaboration with scientists were noticed, of course, but when I was working in the ministry, I represented the government, but now I represent scientists, so I'm working on both directions. Yeah, it's strange, but I can see now that it's, of course, it's very important to know for the government to know what scientists are doing, because sometimes there is a mismatch. I mean, there are projects running on that the ministries are not aware about. So I think that if we should try to cooperate more intensively, and we really used those data, those project data, when we were creating the strategy. It was taken into consideration. So,
but how do you see this? What needs to be done? You, as you now also can look on the situation from the scientist point of view. What is needed to improve? How is it? Sort of regular meetings or working groups, or is it just like an information platform where this information was changed, or maybe maybe those who are involved in policy making, they should sort of send, okay, we have this questions, and can you answer them? As you have just mentioned, that after communication you realize that there are gaps, and that possibly the particular scientific group can answer them. So, what are the possible measures that can be taken?
As I said, it's very difficult to match. As I said, that it's difficult to know from one hand, to know for the government people what scientists are doing. So it's very important to match this information: who's doing what, who's working on what, and what best practice, what projects government can evaluate and see, and then maybe take some measures from what is already being invented or discovered. So I think that the platform would be really good. Yeah, and meetings in Lithuania, we tried to, after the presidency, we had actually two big conferences. One was where we invited scientists, of course, scientists from Lithuania, and different stakeholders, different institutions, and it was a huge one-day conference where all stakeholders could talk to each other and just see who's doing what and how can they be helpful to each other.
So it was helpful.
I think so. And Jurga can also tell, because she was the one from the ministry.
As regards the conference, yes, it was very helpful because we brought together the representatives from the ministries, municipalities, also from the science, so we could share our experience and, of course, tell who is doing what. So, and as Julia said, I think some platform for the exchange of information, it could be quite useful, and to meet, to see each other in some bigger conferences, at least once or twice a year, I think it also could be a good initiative. So, thanks.
Okay, thank you.
I also wanted to completely agree with colleague from Estonia that for us, I'm here from the scientific part, it's not so always about scientists that they are permanently doing something. They can be very elastic, actually, if they know what people need, and we are always very glad if somebody is facing us and really asking, I have such a problem, maybe you are able to solve it, or to give some suggestions, or to evaluate what will be in this situation or what will be in another situation. And if we don't do it now, we can do it some months later, because maybe we don't do it now because nobody had asked us for such a problem. And that's the problem, that we would be happy if any governmental or private institution faces some problem, where are some research issues or modeling issues, then they come to us. From our side, it would be perfect solution, and we are always glad when it happens. And of course it happens.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
One thing what I can see that is that science has to be innovative, and it takes time to get one number. But you can't extrapolate this number to whole region, and that means that policymakers are in trouble. They actually can't use this number, one number, which took maybe a few years to get. And the scientist is actually not interested to make more, because more such numbers, because it's not innovative anymore. He can't publish it. And this is actually the way what is difference seems to me. And policymakers actually who make policy or strategy, they would need data faster, more and more data. But but scientist actually doesn't want to do that because we can't publish that. So it's a difference in our work.
I see. There's another comment.
Thank you. My name is Eva Brunniec. I'm from Ministry of Environment, but I'm also a PhD candidate. And my question, maybe continuing your thought on these numbers, my question concerns credibility. And my question will be to Professor Ginters. What's your opinion about these IPCC scenarios based on all regional models and in several sectors and so on? We know that these scenarios have been made for far future, but we are speaking on adaptation. Something happen and need to be put on places in nowadays and nearest future. And what about this credibility of these scenarios? What's your opinion? Thank you.
Okay. You know that to be a forecaster for 100 years in advance is a very good job, I guess. But to be a forecaster for few seasons, or few years, or few decades, it's much harder job. And you know probably that all these projections have very large uncertainties. And personally, I do not believe to the regional models output at all, only global, because they are comparable between each other. Yeah, all processes are non-linear, so this sustainable temperature rise, which is shown in standard maps or charts, is not true.
Any other questions or comments on the collaboration between policy makers and scientists? Maybe someone from the ministries also wants to express their opinion. How this collaboration can be improved, and how you see what would you like to, what do you expect from the scientists? Maybe you have any comment.
From the Ministry of Environment from Estonia. I think it's as the development of the strategy is related to the project. So we have a certain amount of money for the projects, and it's the outcome of the project is quite clear what we want. We have specific issues or specific priority sectors that needs to be covered. And through this project, we are definitely we will organize those scientific or meetings with researchers, universities, and of course different other research authorities. And through those meetings, I think we will. Those priority sectors or the priority areas that are agreed in the government level, we can discuss on those in those research and of course like politics group meetings. So this is what we have actually, and by now we have communicating with different research authorities through, like, we haven't had any like those events yet, but we have asked different opinions through web questionnaires, and also we are very much looking for the continuing cooperation. Once we have, like I said in my presentation, we have this very interesting first steering committee meeting the next Tuesday, where we hope to get a decision on the priority sectors in Estonia. And from this platform, we will go on and we will continue discussions with research and science authorities. But yeah, it will be only through this project.
Thank you. And I remember you mentioned that you had I think it was a very good initiative to send out a questionnaire and ask what exactly has been done in the beginning of your project. But I have a related question. I think I've noticed that in Estonia and also in Lithuania, the steering committee, a working group on this national adaptation strategy, was one that that united both scientists and policymakers. While in Latvia, we have opted for dividing these two groups, at least at the first stage. So there will be two working groups, one for policymakers or representatives of different ministries, and the second one for scientists. So my question will be to both probably Christine and also ladies from the Estonian and Lithuanian ministry to show if you had, for example, any problems. Like, for example, you are sitting at the table and you realize that people are talking different language. So did you have the mediator about which Maxi was telling in her presentation, that there needs to be a mediator who helps to two sides to understand each other, because sometimes they don't do this. So did it work well with everyone sitting at the same table?
In Lithuania we have a national climate change committee. It was established quite long ago, and the purpose of this committee was not only for the preparation of a strategy, but we consider other important questions within that committee. But I couldn't tell that there would be much disagreement between the members of the committee. Well, and as regards the role of mediator, I think the Minister of Environment maybe takes on that role. And also as regards the involvement of the science and the policy making, so one of the examples could be that we involve our scientists by we will have to prepare some additional studies and research in order to update and to develop further our strategy. And of course in that we will engage our scientists. So I think this is an example of successful cooperation, I guess.
Okay, thank you. Maybe, I don't know, maybe Christine, do you want to comment on why are these two groups divided? Why we have one working group for scientists and one working group for policymakers? Why was it made like this?
The main reason why there are two groups are that scientists are more involved in the preparation of proposals for the strategy, and ministerial persons are more policy making and decision making persons. So it's like a collaboration between them, but it's still two parts.
Okay, but how will they cooperate? Are you expecting sort of common meetings where everyone comes together? So this is our proposal. Do you agree or disagree your comments, or how will it work?
Yes, of course. During the project, Norwegian project, there will be several meetings and also seminars for the discussion of proposals and these six topical reports. So I think that there will be enough work for everybody.
Maybe some additional remarks to Christine. Scientists give us evidence, data, and policy is only response to the to such problematics showed of scientists, and that's why first of all these politics should be based on evidence. And my short maybe suggestion would be that a new profession is needed, like culture manager or music manager, climate change manager is needed, like a mediator between scientists on the one hand and decision makers and politicians from the other side.
Thank you. Does anyone else want to say something before we move to the other part of to the third part of our today's event, and it will be presentation on Climate Adapt platform. Any other comments? If no, then I will give word to Mari.
I'm very happy to be here also because yesterday between 7 and 9 p.m. I was not very sure at all if I'm going to make it, because apparently as it comes out it can happen that you arrive to the airport and then they tell you if there are no longer seats for you in the aircraft, because what air companies do is that they overbook their flights, and that happened to me. But happened so also that this morning I could... Now you can hear me better, okay. But happened so that I could catch the first flight this morning, so very happy to be here. So today's presentation will be about the European Climate Adaptation Platform, Climate Adapt, and I will be helped by Kati Mattern, who already gave a presentation from the EEA. So all the questions you have, she will help me with these. And basically my presentation will have two main aims. Firstly, to present the site and show where it could be useful for your work, whether you are working in the Environment Ministry or in sectorial ministries, whether you're a researcher or working for an NGO. And second goal is also through practical little experiment, gather your feedback, how we could change the site and make it better in the future. Before I start, maybe it would be interesting to see how many of you already knew about the site before I sent you the link with the invitation. Could you raise your hands? How many of you already knew about it? Okay. Okay, so less than half at least, yeah? This means there is room for improvement. Okay, so in the session overview, I will, the first part will be an overview of Climate Adapt. I will cover, I will show where does the climate adaptation platform fit in the EU adaptation strategy. Then I will give you an overview of the main features of the site. Then we will, Kati will talk about the challenges and next steps in developing this portal, and we will finish with a small practical exercise, but no worries, nothing too complicated. And then in the second part, I will give a short overview of how does information sharing work on Climate Adapt and what could be the possible inputs from Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. And yes, because exactly, I would like to underline that Climate Adapt is a two-way process, meaning that it is there to support policymakers, researchers, people working on climate change adaptation. But on the other side, it's also a possibility to share your experience. So it's a
two-way process, and I hope my presentation will bring this across. So where does you already talked about it in the morning, and I hope to be not too repetitive, but just to show where does climate adapt fit into the EU adaptation strategy. So to be effective, climate change adaptation needs to happen both in national, regional, and local levels, and also on EU level more collectively. And realizing this, the European Commission adopted the EU adaptation strategy in April 2013. And the strategy aims at creating a more climate resilient Europe. And it does so through 3 priority axes. Firstly, then promoting action by member states. This is done through essentially by promoting member states adopting adaptation strategy, through also funding instruments like LIFE, which has funds available for cross-border floods management and coastal management, and promoting adaptation activities in cities like Government of Mayors. I think Kati mentioned it already earlier. So the second priority where climate adapt comes in is better informed decision making. And this essentially aims at identifying the priority and prioritizing the knowledge gaps exactly that came across here before during the discussions. And then these knowledge gaps would need to be fit into the planning of Horizon 2020. And also here the portal Climate Adapt essentially seeks to support policymakers and bring the available knowledge to them. And yes, I would say that actually the link between these two for me is that whereas adopting an adaptation strategy is the goal, it needs to go through this well-informed decision making. So these two are intrinsically connected for me. And so this third priority is key vulnerability sectors, which means mainstreaming adaptation measures into EU policies and programs as a way to climate-proof EU action. That means climate-proofing common agricultural policy, cohesion policy, and common fisheries policy. Yes. If we now move to the website itself, as I said, it fits under the second priority axis of the EU adaptation strategy, and it supports governmental decision makers in programming and implementing their strategies. So leading to application of research results and projects and taking these into account while actually during this policy process. Outline of the website. This website was launched in March 2012, and it is managed by the EEA, European Environmental Agency, in close cooperation with the European Commission, DG Climate Action, and it's supported by the European Topic Center that then brings together about 12 expert organizations working on adaptation in different member states. And as I mentioned earlier, it is a two-way process, meaning that it's essentially there to support policymakers in their action, to bring them most up-to-date information and news also about it, but it's also meant to gather research and work what has been done in member states to the wider public. And now if we have a look at the main features of the portal, then the most used ones probably are the two, it's adaptation support tool, which many of you are probably already familiar with, and then the countries pages. Adaptation support tool, it's relevant, I would say, to policymakers at different levels, be it the national, local, or regional, and it's a guidance to guide them in their process of adaptation policy planning and implementation. We will come back to that. Then there is a page about what European countries are doing. I will also go through that more in detail. Then there is the case study where you can find case studies on with similar climate change impacts and with similar climate change impacts and according to sectors. Then there is a big database that basically brings together over 1,400 different reports, projects, what has been done, and we will also go back to that. And last but not least, there's a possibility to share your information. I don't know, did I forget to mention anything? No, not yet, okay. I would now go to the site directly because it's a bit more convenient like that. I hope it is still open. No. So here we go. Hoping that it will work. I don't know. Oh, very nice. So it makes more sense probably to go through the site with you and to discover it on the site directly instead of showing screenshots. So as I told you earlier, probably the most useful tool for many of you would be the adaptation support tool. And as I told you, aimed at policymakers at all different levels, at sectors, and aimed at providing step-by-step guidance with information and resources at each step, starting from getting started and planning until then assessing and risks and vulnerability to climate change, identifying the adaptation options, assessing adaptation options, implementing them, and then in the final stage, monitoring and evaluation. It follows the 6-step policy cycle, and as I told you earlier, it's probably the most used feature of Climate Adapt. So if we go further, then there is also a different feature on countries, where there is a little map. Let's go to, you can choose the country and then see what has been done. And just to give you this part of the site is managed by, it's the responsibility of national focal points, meaning that they are essentially the ones submitting the information to the EEA. Then the EEA manages the process, but it's essentially for national authorities to feed into the process. And as you see, there are information about what are the priority sectors, what local actions have taken place, and there's contact information. So this part can also be very useful for researchers, for example, for working across countries. Because if you're interested what has been done in your neighboring countries, in your regions, this is a very good way to find the person to ask from. So if we, for example, let's take a look at Latvia, the page looks the same, but the content, as again I told you, is the competence of the national focal point, so it's essentially them who will decide what's going to go up there. And as I understood, then updates are foreseen for 2014 to this section. So if we look a little further, as I said in the beginning, that it's not only useful for people working in environment ministries, but can also be used by sectorial policymakers. For example, because on the sector page, there's a variety of information on people working on health issues or agriculture and forestry. And I must say that on this part of the page, the information is maybe not always the most up-to-date for the current moment, but the page as it is, it's a work in progress, so it's constantly developing. But again, as you see, it's really not only focalized on people working on environment ministries on climate change adaptation, because that would be way too narrow. There is a way to find something interesting also when you're working on something different, but climate change adaptation, as it is, links to many, many different fields. So now going on, there's another very useful tool what I find under tools is the map viewer. And this includes maps and information about the areas you choose, and it's aimed at also policymakers, but also at scientists. Why not? Because basically the main purpose of this section is to present spatial information about climate change impacts at the European level, and this can be used by policymakers, but also why not by NGOs or on environmental agencies who work often maybe more with reaching out to a wider public, and this is something that can be very useful. As you see here, you can make choices according to climate impacts. Let's take, we had a lot of discussion about flooding, and why not flooding and, for example, agriculture. And as you see, you can also choose the scenario. I'm not always very certain whether the page is functioning correctly because it was updated not so long time ago, so so let's take okay, I don't know why this is not happening, but let's take that. So this is an easy possibility for people who do not work with scientific data maybe each day, but this gives a very nice representation, and it's easy to read also for people who are maybe not so at home with numbers and all that. So if we move forward now, then the case study search tool, another very useful tool which can help policymakers, but again, why not people working in sectorial ministries, in NGOs, researchers, to find projects that have been implemented in the same sector in areas with similar climate change impacts. So here again, search can be made according to climate impacts. We can choose the impact being flooding, for example, and then sector again. Let's try it out, hoping it works. And yes. Okay. Here, let's try with, I must say that I tried it yesterday with Riga and there were not so many results, so that's why I didn't want to propose that, but let's try it. But it's also true, I think, that for the moment the case study database or search tool, it has more case studies available for Western European countries and less for this region, for example. You see now it shows that we have selected this as the location, but for some reason, oh yes. And there, for example, there's a, if I click on that, yes, it offers a project or an example of a case study which is in the agriculture forestry sector and on floods. So, and it's new, but I don't know now if it opens. But anyhow, you saw how the process. Now it sends me back here. Well, I guess you saw what it's about, but because I don't know it's useful probably to see also what the case study looks like, but it's not so easy to navigate then in the end. Well,
only 1 second. I show you only another example to demonstrate how it works.
well, yes, this is now the theory. We will later do the practice to see if it works. Well, but I guess we will have a chance to go around that later on when we do the little practical exercise. Everyone will have a chance to.
Let me see. Yes. Yeah. Only let me tell you that normally it comes up. It's always the case, such as life. You can see on the right side there is a legend. When it works, it will show you a case study if there is a case study available in your biogeographical region to your problem, or it will show you a case study which is available for the same problem in another region where you can learn from, and then it will open the case study. So.
Yes, and usually it works. I must say that yesterday it did not work very well either, though that was why I was a bit reluctant to try it, but we can all try once more later. So in the end, or the last little feature that I wanted to show you, and which probably would be of interest to many of you, is the wealthy database I mentioned earlier, which contains, as I told you, more than 1,400 examples of different resources, and they are all quality checked by the EEA and are searchable using keyword and filter. So let's hope that it works. And the documents there are categorized. Wait, I can also maybe show it here because it's easier. Yes, this is what the web page looks like. So as I told you, they are categorized into different categories. Then coming from the up hand corner, you can find their publication and reports is the most popular category. Then, but also information on different national portals, tools, maps, graphs, and data sets, and so on. Also indicators. And I will tell you a bit more about of the criteria on which, based on what the documents are put there or uploaded on the website. I don't know, for example, are the projects that were mentioned earlier, Riga against floods and the Klimata project that you mentioned, I'm not sure if they are up there or not, but we could maybe check that later on. And now if, I don't know if you already have some preliminary questions, I guess just watching me talking a bit about the site is a bit too far yet to have any questions, but if you have, I'm happy to take them now. If not, then we can go to the next step, which is the challenges of the website. So Katja, maybe you can help me here a bit.
So, taking over, I would like to say that the website, since its launch, was developed to an initial feedback what users need, what Marie has shown, but to understand the users and their needs is a real challenge. We can't go everywhere to ask people what they need and to make surveys and surveys. I am sure you have already received a lot of questionnaires to answer survey questions. So it's really a challenge to find out
how we can meet the needs for all users. Can you continue? What is also very important, especially maybe also for you, if you have platforms in your countries, to enhance the link of Climate Adapt, to make users, to allow users to easier access other platforms from Climate Adapt and to make connections, and also to other thematic platforms, for example, from disaster risk reduction or from climate services. And also, I would like to mention the links to transnational platforms like the Baltic Sea and other initiatives, the Baltic Sea thing. And one very important task for EEA is how we can support, how we can explore how to use Climate Adapt to help the reporting on adaptation, which is at the moment negotiated between the Commission and the Member States.
So I had one more point here noted on the paper, what I would like to mention is actually, I guess one of the main challenges is also the fact that we can tell you about the website now, here, but you actually are as multipliers to a certain extent to this information, because then we could engage you here right now, but what is also important is that you actually talk about the website to your colleagues, and you use it in your work, really, dependingly then whether on awareness raising or also really searching for projects that have been already implemented.
So I would like to highlight this also, because as I said, we can't talk to everybody, and we know that especially when you're working at the ministerial level, you don't have the time to look in every detail of such a platform, but maybe you have colleagues working in your agencies that support you, that you can disseminate this information to your colleagues to make the best use of this event as possible. Thanks.
Yes, and now I guess it's still up to you to give us a little insight about what are the next steps and further developments in the climate adaptation platform, because I don't know if any of you noticed, but not so long time ago there was an update of the entire, how the website looked like. It's not too much different, but maybe you can tell more about what's upcoming.
As you have seen right now, not everything is working at the moment, very unfortunately for our event, but such is life. Maybe you also notice from your personal experience. We have had a contract paid by the Commission to update the functionalities of the website. One very important functionality was the enhanced possibility to search in the big database, which has 1,400 entries on publications and reports, maps, graphs, and data sets, information portals, organizations, and also case studies. What we have done, we have enhanced the possibility to use these case studies, to showcase them. This could be also very interesting, especially for you, to highlight your information and to deliver it to Climate Adapt. We would further elaborate this. And the next time we will, as I already said in the morning, we will integrate the Mayor's Adapt initiative website into our website to make more city information available. And we would also like to further integrate in the future the Copernicus climate services into Climate Adapt. So we have to make the connection between them. And please go on. And continuing challenge is to update national information. Here we are dependent on you, because we can't request this information. It's agreed between the Commission and the Member States to update the information once a year, but on a voluntary basis you can easily send us your contributions. We would like to extend the website to other countries, Croatia and the West Balkan countries. The city-related information I mentioned already, and we would like to further include the results of EU research and adaptation projects and further disseminate the platform.
So the further dissemination is ongoing right now. So this brings us to the practical exercise part, which I hope you are all very keen in taking part. It's also already very soon, I think, time for a coffee break. So what I would suggest is that I will explain you briefly this essence of the practical exercise. So firstly, why are we doing this? I know that many of you are already familiar with the site and have used it, but maybe you have just looked at it and not really used it in terms of your work. So our aim here is to make you get a hands-on experience in using Climate Adapt and to find things relevant for your field of work or then for your country. And then what we would like to have is for you to provide us some feedback on your user experience, and that we could, as the project, could report back to DG Climate Action and EEA. And for this, we have come up with a small practical exercise, and it contains a problem-solving exercise in small groups. And then you would be feeding back to the entire audience. Hopefully there is one in each group who is okay with the reporting back. And for this, I would appreciate if we can just do it in a less scholarly manner, I guess. And what we can do is we can now go to the coffee break, but then I would suggest that then you gather with the people of your field of work. That means also mixing in different nationalities groups, meaning environmental ministries, then maybe environment agencies, NGOs, researchers, and I will hand you in a small set of questions, really nothing complicated at all. And then after the coffee break, we can come back. And I hope that each group has at least one laptop at hand. If not, we can also borrow ours here. And then after the coffee break, we can come back, and I hope that each group has something to feed back to the entire audience, just based on the answer to the question, how did you find the website? And questions to consider would be just simply to see, was the information easy for you to find? Did you find it useful? Was there something instantly that you said this is missing? And so on. Really, it's in a very free form, so there is no much limits given to the site. So what I propose is that we make a little coffee break now, and then once we come back, you can gather with people from your field of work, and then you could try out this small exercise, and we can come back in 15 minutes and try out that you can explain how was it. Does that seem okay to you? Yes? Okay, thank you very much.